Can we talk about mortgages? Yes. Securing a mortgage should be the most fulfilling experience of your life. However, this process sometimes can be a little confusing and indeed frustrating. How is it that we improve on that? Simply join
Higher
me.
Ground Gospel Radio. The time is now 7 o'clock. Reaching you at the highest mountain and the lowest valley. Higher Ground Gospel Radio.
Hi there. Can we talk? Can we talk about mortgages? Yes. Securing a mortgage should be the most fulfilling experience of your life. However, this process sometimes can be a little confusing and indeed frustrating. How is it that we improve on that? Simply join me, Oral McLean, the Mortgage MC, on HGG Radio, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, as I provide you with simple, professional, and unbiased advice on securing a mortgage. Let's talk about mortgages. Yes, talking mortgages. See you soon. While we walk you through this very, very important process that everybody needs who wants to put down some roots and own their own home, or if you are so inclined, you want to go in as an investor and secure properties so that you can either rent or if you want to resale. So, without further ado, let's listen to some more of that lovely, lovely song. Mortgage MC. All right, so let's start that walk down the start the walk to take the journey where we look at how is it that we secure mortgages in a way that is not frustrating, not as hassle free as possible. So let's start at the beginning. It is important to understand that what a mortgage is, because one, if we're gonna buy a property, a lot of persons think that the first step that you take is that you go out and you try to find the property. So many persons will contact their realtor or a real estate professional in order to help them to find a house, right? Or what if it's not a house, if it's for business to find whatever property that they need. However, in my based on how I look at it, if I don't know where my money is coming from, because it takes cash to care. So if I don't know where my money is coming from, looking at properties is like shooting in the dark, because one, you don't know how much you can afford, and one of the biggest mistakes that persons will make is that they go look for properties, fall in love with a property, and then when we come down to brass tacks, you cannot afford it. And that's the worst thing. A property heartbreak is worse than if you had your heart broken by somebody that you were in a relationship with. It takes way longer to get over, and some people never get over it, right? So in order not to get your heart broken, what you do as a first step is you speak to a mortgage professional. And the best mortgage professional to talk to is a mortgage broker. And why is it important to talk to a mortgage broker and not go to your bank or your building or your credit union? It's simply this. When you talk to a mortgage broker, your choices are way, way more. Most mortgage broker in Canada work with at least 50 to 100 lenders that they have at their disposal. And each lender will give you, say, 5, 6, 10 products. And if you have so many products to choose from, it is likely that you'll be able to find a product that will suit the need of the client that you're working with, right? Because you and I know every client comes and every client have different needs. So if you go to your bank and your bank can only offer you a particular type of mortgage, then you're stuck with whatever they have, right? No choice. However, when you speak to your mortgage broker can then go and shop around and find you the best mortgage for your situation from the many lenders that they have at their disposal. So that's one. Two, your bank closes at a certain time in the day. Most mortgage brokers will have very flexible hours because your mortgage broker finds you where you are, when you are available, and they work around your schedule. It's as simple as that. Most mortgage broker, you can call them on a Sunday, yeah, you call them on a weekend, you call them evenings, you call them mornings, and it is based on when you're available. They'll work with you. Your bank closes at a certain hour, and even though they have uh, online access can give you so much information and no more. So two, convenience, right? Uh, and if you can get the service when you need it and how you need it, that's unbeatable. So third thing why you should talk to a mortgage broker and not your bank first is that when it comes to working for you, when you go into your bank and you sit in front of that clerk is he has a responsibility to the bank first and foremost. Yeah. His responsibility first and foremost is the bank. So the bank that employs him or her is his highest priority. So his job, based on his fiduciary relationship that he has with his employer, is to protect his employer's best interest. Not yours. Yours is secondary, maybe even tertiary, right? So, first and foremost, is protecting his employer's interest. Then he thinks about you. So, if there's a choice to be made as to whose interest is higher, you are not winning that race. That one goes directly to the employer. When you speak to a mortgage broker, you are the highest priority. Yeah, you are paramount. You are supreme. The mortgage broker has your interests before everybody else's. So, why is it that you would want to go to your bank where they have you second on the totem board and not go to a mortgage broker who has you first, right? You're the highest priority. So, those are the main things why you talk to your mortgage broker first. And what your mortgage broker will do when you first make that initial contact is to, in a way, sum up to see where you are in terms of what state of readiness that you are at in order to guide you along the way. So, how is it that we check your state of readiness? One, what we do is that we will speak to you in general terms about what it is that you're looking for, right? Because everybody has a dream, right? In terms of their dream home and things like that, right? Everybody has that dream. And what we want to do is to ensure that you are able to realize that dream. So we'd ask you what type of house you're looking for. Mark, you are not realtors, but we need to know so that we need to understand how is it that we're gonna satisfy this need, right? So we'll ask you what type of house you're looking for, and it might be that you're looking for a condo, apartment style condo, or you're looking for a townhouse that might be a condo, or you want a single family detached unit, or you want one that is semi detached, right? Or you might be looking for an acreage because you don't like to have your neighbors looking in through your window, right? So we want to know exactly what you're looking for, or at least have an idea as to what is it that you're looking for. So that's one. Two, we want to have an idea as to how much money you want to spend. And I know a lot of times persons will come and they themselves are not sure as to how much that they want to spend or how much they can spend, right? But we want to know what amount that you'd be comfortable with, right? So then location is important, right? So we will ask you about location, what city, what part of the city, things like that. And upon getting that information, right, we will then do what is called a pre-qualification. And what a pre-qualification is simply looking at a couple of variables as it relates to your situation. Chief among those variables are: one, your income; two, the amount of money that you have set aside for down payment; three, whether your employment situation, whether it's full-time, part-time, right? And then four, we look at where your credit is, right? So we'll try to get a gauge as to your credit score, as this too is pretty important in the whole scheme of things. So we will look at those things. And a pre-qualification, which is not to be confused with a pre-approval, right? Because a pre-qualification is just a quick screen. We're taking a quick glimpse as to where you are and in terms of those factors that I mentioned. So a good thing is that there's a tool that I have called My Mortgage Toolbox, and it's Oral McLean's Mortgage Toolbox, right? Or the Mortgage MC's Mortgage Toolbox. And one of the many functions that it has is a pre-qualification tool. And you can simply, I'll make available the link to my app, because it's an app, right? And you can download the app and you can then play around with it. You can do your own pre-qualification so as to understand where you are in terms of what price range that you can buy in, because that's what the pre-qualification tool does, right? It tells you how much you can afford to spend, basically, right? And we will be making the link available pretty soon. We're going to be sending that out. My producer will be sending that information out to all persons who are listening in, right? So just to remind you, I am Oral McLean, the Mortgage MC, and you're listening to Mortgages on
HGG Radio.
Okay, so we have gone through what we need to think about as a first step when we are thinking about buying a house or buying a property. And that first step, when we speak to the mortgage broker, and again, I said, I'm going to reiterate, it is in your best interest when you are thinking about buying a property, buying a house, that you speak to a professional, right? Don't sit at home and say, well, I think I'm not ready. I think I'm ready. Because guess what? Let us do that quick screen. Let us see where you are so that we can advise you as to whether or not you are ready. Because if you are ready, we can assist you in getting that mortgage so that you can buy the property. If you are not ready, we can advise you as to what you can do in order to get ready. And that's a very simple thing. We can look at income, look at your down payment, look at your credit, and look at your debt load in order to see whether or not which of those variables you need to fix, which of those variables you need to either lower, work on, right? So after we have done your pre-qualification, as I said before, it's just a quick screen as to what you can afford. We would look deeper now as to and when we're doing your pre-qualification, right? It is not imperative that we get your income down to the cent that you make annually, right? If we have a ballpark, that's good sometimes. To be more precise is always good, but if when we're doing that initial consultation, you might not have all your information at your fingertips, right? But if we get a good idea as to what it is that you earn and how much money you have put aside, things like that. What the last time you check your credit score, where it was. Yeah, we'll get a basic idea as to where you are and what you can afford. All right. So at this time, I'm going to take a quick look at the variables that I spoke about in terms of income, credit, down payment, and your debt burden. I'll take a quick look at those so that I'll elaborate so that you can get a better understanding as to what it is that we're looking for when we're looking at those variables. All right, so I'll start with income. Income is, while it is not the most important of the variables, it is pretty important because income is gonna give you an idea as to how much money you can spend. Because the most important thing about after you get your mortgage is paying back that mortgage, right? And your income is gonna dictate whether or not you will be able to pay that mortgage back, because now repayment is gonna be hinged on the amount of money that you make afterwards, and whether or not that amount that you make can cover your payments. All right, so income. Income can either be full-time, part-time, it can be seasonal, it can be contract. It all depends on different lenders. And lenders is a word that I'm gonna use. I know a lot of persons, when they think about a mortgage, they think about the institution, they normally call it a bank, right? But because there are more mortgages are not just issued by banks, there are companies that specialize in issuing mortgages, right? Because a bank is a financial institution that does mortgages, savings, credit cards, a wide gamut of stuff, right? There are some companies that all they do is lend mortgages, right? There are some companies that do that, like life insurance companies that do mortgages too. And then there are so many other companies that deal with mortgages. You'd be surprised that most of the mortgages that are issued in Canada are not issued by the top 5 big banks, right? They're issued by other institutions that specializes in mortgages and do it and do it in a way that is as efficient and effective as those big banks, and in some cases even more efficient and more effective, right? So the word I'll use is lender, because a lender is anybody that will give you the mortgage, right? That will lend you the money that is the mortgage. So that is the word I'll use. So you won't hear me using bank, and I'll not even use it interchangeably. I'll say lender. All right. So income. As I said, income can be full-time, part-time, seasonal, contract. And one of the good things about how we view income is that and a lot of persons have the thinking, and this is a myth, that you have to be working full-time in order to get a mortgage. No, not the case. Not the case. Because for somebody that's working full-time, that's the easiest income that we can verify, right? Because usually when we submit income, we have to verify that income. So we have to substantiate it, give some sort of proof of the income. And like for full-time income, we will look at a letter of employment from your employer, right? So a letter from your employer, last 3 or 4 pay slips. And for a full-time job, in most cases, that will suffice in terms of proving that, yes, you get paid. And that is why a lot of persons probably have that thinking that you have to be employed full-time in order to qualify for a mortgage. No. If you're employed part-time, what happens is that we verify your income in a slightly different way, right? Because when you are employed part-time, what will happen is that, sometimes you'll work way more more hours than you normally work, and sometimes you'll work less hours. So there's some amount of fluctuation. And where there's fluctuation, that is where it comes in and it makes it a little bit more complex or a little more difficult in order to verify your income. As opposed to a full-time person who will get a letter that says, this employee works for us on a permanent full-time basis and makes 100,000 per annum and is paid bi-weekly or whatever the case might be, right? For someone that's employed part-time, what we'll do, we'll still get that letter of employment to ensure that, yes, they work for the organization which they say they do. And we'll still get that 3 or 4 pay slips. However, what we will do now is that because there are going to be periods where they work way more hours than is the usual, and there are going to be periods where it fluctuates and they work way less hours. We need to sort of find what is the trend, right? And if we are going to find a trend as to what is the norm, what we do is that we take a 2-year average of that income. So in taking that 2-year average, we'll ask for documentation like your T4s for the 2 years preceding the year that we're in. So like say this was 2022, because it's, T4s, they're not out yet. So say this was 2022. So say we went back in time and we're at November 2022. I'd ask you for your T4s for 2021 and your T4s for 2020. So we'll use those and we use the income from it. And the gross income is what we use, right? We use the gross income. We add both together, divide it by 2. So we're finding the mean, the average, as people call it. And say you made 10,000 in 2020 and you made 12,000 in 2022, in 2021. So your income would be that 10,000 plus the 12, which is 22, divided by 2, which is 11,000, right? And that is the income that we would use in your case. So that now is how we would do for most part in terms of for part-time income in most cases. Sometimes every rule has some exceptions, and it based on lenders, it might be slightly different. But in most cases, that is how we do for a part-time person. Right? So no matter what your income, your employment status is, whether it's full-time, part-time, or whatever else, there are ways that we can verify the income. It might be a bit complex. However, there are ways that we can verify the income. So you don't have to, if you have a very good part-time job that you enjoy and you make enough money and you want to buy a house, you don't have to leave that job and go out there and now try to find a full-time job in order to ensure that you qualify for a mortgage, because qualifying for a mortgage can be done even if you're part-time. All right. So that's income for today. Let me not overburden you with income, but I'm hoping that you get the gist of it. And then we will move to credit. Pretty important, because if credit is your credit score, and what the credit bureaus do monitor is they do all of that to see how is it that you manage credit. Because buying a house is going to be one of the biggest transactions of your life. You might not buy anything else that costs so much money. And if an institution is going to take you on and give you all that money in order to buy the property, then they want to ensure that you can manage credit and manage it in a way that is efficient and meet the standards that they have. So what is done is that your credit score, and usually credit scores are, we would use either Equifax or TransUnion. Most institutions use the one from Equifax. That's the more popular of the two, right? And your credit score is not just a score, because on your credit report, it gives us so much information and gives us the opportunity to understand what you have been doing over the past couple of years. Because there are some items that stay on your credit score for quite some time, right? So your credit report, when we look at that, it will not only give us score, but it also will give us some information as to the amount of accounts that you have open. And these accounts includes things like credit cards, lines of credit, savings accounts, checking accounts, car loans, all of those, right? Will give us an idea as to all the accounts that you have and the status of those accounts, right? It will also tell us if you have things that we call, right? So if there are things on your credit report that are not that are, some people would say, that are bad, right? But if there are things on your credit report that does not work in your favor, say you change address and you forgot to disconnect that cable service, and it was there running for months and it was not paid, and then the cable company comes to you and say you owe us X amount, and you say, no, I don't owe you because I left there so many months ago, and they hand it over to their collections department. If that happens, that goes on your credit report, right? So things like that does not assist you, does not speaks, it does not speak in your favor on your credit report. So those we call derogatories, right? So if you have late payments, that will show up on your credit report, and that will affect your credit score, right? So we look at things like that because, as I said before, this is one of the biggest transaction, if not the biggest transaction that you will have. And doing this, you're asking an institution to lend you hundreds of thousands of dollars in order for you to buy this home for yourself and your family. So they want to ensure that their money is safe because they're looking at risk, and they want to ensure that they don't take on a risk that is they don't take you on if you're too risky. Put it that way, right? So they want to make sure that at the end of the day, they'll get their money back plus interest, right? And we'll go into interest shortly. Well, at this time, I'm gonna give you a minute or two for all of that I've spoken about for you to digest it, and we'll listen to Mr. Jermaine Edwards.
HGG Radio.
Okay, welcome back. My name is Oral McLean, the Mortgage MC, and this is Talking Mortgages. All right, so I know I gave you a lot to think about, right? And it was a lot to swallow. So because you have been such good listeners, I have a giveaway for Canadian listeners for being such good sports. And my giveaway is that I have 2 gift cards, one from Starbucks and one from Tim Hortons. Right, so 1 Starbucks gift card and a Timmy's gift card. And all you have to do for the Canadian listeners is that you just need to text the words Talking Mortgages to, this is the number, 825-343-4486. That's 825-343-4486. And you text the words, Talking Mortgages. And at the end of the program, we will select 2 persons from those persons who text in. and they'll win these gift cards. So I'm gonna tell you the two persons that we'll select. We'll select the person who was second to text in and the person who was 10th to text in. All right. So that way it's random, right? I just selected those two numbers, 2 and 10. Right. So that's what we'll do. So what I'll do now while you text in to get those gift cards is that I will basically give you a summary, right? Compress all of what I just said in a couple of sentences, right? I'll give you my 2 cents on what we have what I've brought to you this evening. So most importantly, the first and most important step in the house hunting process is talking to your mortgage broker first and foremost, as your mortgage broker is the better choice at getting a mortgage than going to your bank, because your bank does not have the choices that your mortgage broker will have in terms of the number of mortgage products that they'll have at their disposal, right? So that's one. Two is that your mortgage broker will do a pre-qualification, and a pre-qualification is a quick look at your income, your down payment that you have, your credit score, and your debt burden. And what is done there is do a quick calculation to see how much house you can afford, right? How much money you'll be able to qualify for in order to buy that house. And that is what you're gonna use now in terms of the amount in your shopping around for that property. So that's one. We also looked at income, we looked at credit, and we said that income don't have to be full-time in order to qualify for a mortgage. It can be part-time, it can be seasonal, it can be contract. All we have to do is to be able to verify that income and show it to the lenders that yes, you earn this and that's what you earn, right? And we have a number of ways to verify the different types of income. And thirdly, we looked at credit, and your credit is important. And I must add, I did not say it earlier, but I must add that the ideal credit score is 680 and above. However, if your credit score is not 680 and above, there are still options for you. It's just that 680 and above, then you start getting the good rates and the better rates and the better deals, right? But if your credit score is lower than 680 because now you're considered a little higher risk, then the interest rates that we will be able to get on your behalf won't be the prime or the best rates. It won't be terrible, right? But 680 and above is important with not enough, with not a lot of what we would call bad things on your credit. So I'll just check with my producer to see whether or not we have winners yet. But while he's doing that, just to remind you, the number is 825-343-4486. And we have a Starbucks and a Timmy's gift card for you to enjoy. Okay. And I think our first winner is Princess. And Princess will be, let's hope Princess is in Canada, right? Because I know Starbucks is all over the world, right? But this giveaway is mainly for Canada listeners. Next time we'll have giveaways for our listeners all over the world. Yes, for even some of those listeners down in California. Right, but this giveaway, so Princess is our first winner. Princess will have the option to choose whether or not she wants the Starbucks or the Timmy's gift card. And then the next winner will get whatever Princess doesn't chooses. All right. So it was indeed my pleasure talking to you tonight. As we continue this program on Tuesdays at between 7 and about 7:30, what we will do, we will give you an opportunity to either call in your questions or text your questions in, and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. But in the meantime, if you have a question and you want it answered, you can also send a text or a call to 780-200-5229, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you and to provide any guidance that I can give at any point in time. Right. So, without further ado, we will see you soon, and thank you for listening. My name is Oral McLean, the Mortgage Mac, and for today, that's my 2 cents. Thank you. Bye.
HGG Radio.